Hello there everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how manga has helped my mental health and how it can help yours as well. So I first want to dive into a little bit of my backstory and history of manga, as well as just how manga in general can correlate with mental health. So the first manga I technically ever read was I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, and this was a one-shot, and it was about a boy who met a girl that has a pancreatic cancer and she's slowly dying, and so he befriends her, and it's all about life, friendship, and mortality. And that was my technically first manga that I ever read, but it wouldn't be until 2022 that I really got into manga, and that was with SpyxFamily, and then it kind of started to snowball from there. I even mentioned SpyxFamily in my February wrap-up video, so if you want to see that, that was like years ago, but I'll link it somewhere up above. Ever since I've been starting to read manga, I've learned so much, and I definitely feel like there's a huge connection with manga and mental health. The first being that different mangas offer different perspectives of life. There's some mangas that show the perspective of, let's say, being a mother, and then there's others that show the perspective of someone with a disability. There's others that show the perspective of someone with different sexuality or different belief system, different even religion. Each manga has its own sort of take on life and how people think and how people are and operate. Another great thing that I absolutely love about manga is that a lot of the emotions that we feel and that we think, man, I'm just alone and it's only me feeling this way, manga brings out the fact that you're not alone and that there's other people who also feel the same way as you do. Another thing that I really appreciate about manga is that it also shows healthy relationships, it shows abusive relationships, it shows the realities of life, and it also shows the beauties of life. There's so many different perspectives of life with each manga that you may encounter, and that's what I absolutely love about it, is that there's a whole vast just arena of different stories that you can read and different stories that you can connect with, and even if you don't connect with, you can learn from. Next, I'll be talking about these specific mangas that have helped me in my life and with my mental health, and so I'll be naming 3 in particular. The first is Yotsuba. And so this story is about a little girl named Yotsuba, and I talked about this on my channel so many times. And Yotsuba is just a very curious girl. She loves little adventures, she loves discovering things, getting other people involved, especially her dad, and it is just a story about a young girl and her perspective on the world. What I loved about this manga is that it really healed my inner child. Seeing Yotsuba being so adventurous and seeing her discover new things and being creative, it felt like that part of me I didn't really feed so much, but seeing Yotsuba, like, I mean, as a kid, that's what you do. Like, you discover, you create things, even if they're messy, even if it makes no sense, you just create. The story has inspired me to be creative and just embrace my inner child, whether it's through drawing, whether it's through writing, whether it's through watching an old show that I used to watch as a kid. It just empowers you to connect with your inner child and to just discover and be creative. Another thing that I love about this series is that it emphasizes the beauty in the simple things in life. I think sometimes it's easy to think that you need something big or grand in order to feel secure, in order to feel whole, but the story of Yotsuba reminds you that you don't need a lot, you don't need so much to feel so whole. Sometimes it's just a matter of having, I don't know, a couple of leaves and rocks and doing some weird stuff with it. Sometimes it's looking forward to eating breakfast, sometimes it's looking forward to going to bed, or sometimes it's just drawing and hanging out with people that you really like. Like, there's so many little things that we can do to enhance our life and to make it better and to see the beauty in, and it doesn't require so much money, it doesn't require so much of our, time or effort. Another thing I love about this story is the importance of community. In Yotsuba, and you see how her father, the neighbors, and other people are so involved with her life and how she's also involved in their life, whether they like it or not. And it's just very nice to see how supportive they are of each other, how supportive they are of, like, not only taking care of Yotsuba but other characters too as well, and just how they even feed into her shenanigans. And it is just so wholesome. It is so, like, fun to see her, like, mess around with people, and even her dad too, and seeing her dad mess around with her. It brings you just so much joy. Like, this series is a full-on serotonin and joy pill. Another thing that is portrayed in the story of Yotsuba is that life is full of new discoveries. Sometimes, and especially as you get older, you feel like maybe, okay, I know this, I know that, but there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to discover. And again, with Yotsuba, even though she's a child, you see her discover new things and be so amused by them. And I think it's, again, easy to kind of go through your day and go through the same routine and kind of think, well, there's this, there's that, there's nothing really new. But again, it goes back to the whole thing of like, there's beauty in the simple things. Sometimes it's not necessarily you have to do something grand or big. It's maybe just taking a walk out and noticing the trees. Maybe it's taking a drive somewhere and noticing the different places and how, things have changed. Maybe it's a matter of just looking up something. It's like those little things, like those little new discoveries can bring more fullness to your life. So whilst I was reading Yotsuba and I was in a very stressful time. This was like around March 2024. So like I was in, my spring semester, very stressed out. But reading Yotsuba and just felt like a complete de-stressor of like all the stresses I was facing. This series is such a wholesome series, and it definitely is giving major Studio Ghibli vibes for me, just because of, again, it's the perspective of a young girl discovering new things and the people around her. The cuteness, the just overload of her like being so fascinated by different things and deciding to be one particular character one day and then another particular character the next. It is also fun and so amusing to see. Next series I like to talk about is Nana, and this is a story about two girls who are both named Nana, and they're both on their way to Tokyo chasing after their dreams. I initially started watching the anime and continued on reading the rest of the manga. Oh my goodness, this was so needed for me. I mean, again, I read this last year and I was 23 then, and just reading this series felt like a weird love letter to like every young adult woman in their 20s, of just how messy it can be like to be in your 20s. This series definitely normalizes the struggles of getting your life started, of figuring out what you want to do with your life, of trying to find where you belong, of trying to understand yourself as a person, all within your 20s, and just normalizing that it's okay to have these struggles. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not have everything figured out. Another thing that this series does an excellent job at is expressing the rawness of things like depression, anxiety, addiction, grief, heartbreak, and so many other topics. It also dives into the power of friendship and how friendship can be so strong, and you can have your found family and people who understand you and they inspire you and they motivate you to do better in your life. But then it also shows the opposite of like how fragile friendships can be, how it can maybe take another person for the friendship to break, or one word to break off the friendship, or even just people changing and people having different priorities, that shifting friendships as well. This series also does an excellent job at showing how love can be very beautiful but also painful. Some other topics this manga dives into is self-worth, independence, having balance in life. The third series I like to mention is SpyxFamily. This was the first manga series I really stuck with. Like, again, 2022 was the year I really started to get into manga, and this was it. SpyxFamily opened me up into the world of manga and just how there's so many different stories, there's so many different lessons to be learned within each manga. The lesson that I learned in particular from the character Anya is that you can be loved as you are. Anya makes so many mistakes, Anya does so many crazy stuff, never once has, well, Lloyd definitely has shown frustration for her, but at the same time, he still loves her, and so does Yor, especially Yor. Yor shows her like unconditional love, and that I find is so beautiful. And so through Anya, you learn how you really should be loved for who you are as a person. Everyone deserves to be loved and to be held and to be acknowledged and to be, seen and heard and appreciated for who they are. Another lesson that I learned from SpyxFamily is personal growth. And this is in particular with Yor and Lloyd. You have Lloyd, who's a spy, and Yor, who's an assassin. And despite them being in this contractual marriage of just, for image sake, well, at least for Yor, it's image sake, and then for Lloyd is like for the mission. But even then, they start to slowly learn about each other and start to learn about themselves. And especially with Anya as their child, it brings out even more growth within them. So the last thing I want to talk about is how manga has helped me with my mental health. Two of the biggest things that I think that manga has brought into my life is joy and hope. Joy because you You'll see different characters go through different things. And then you'll also see them go through, you know, good times and celebrating with their friends or their family and whatnot. And then you also see them go through some really challenging times where they feel like quitting or giving up or they're doubting themselves. You see the characters celebrate their achievements. You see the characters either overcome an obstacle, or you see a character just like Yotsuba enjoying life and just making new discoveries and whatnot. And I would say hope because, again, it goes back to like the whole trials and tribulations. You see them go through really hard trials and challenges, but you also see them overcome them, or if not overcome them, at least learn from them. Another thing that I've learned from manga is that things don't always go your way, and it's okay if they don't go your way. There's different manga stories that show that not every character gets what they necessarily deserve, and I wouldn't say like that in like a, oh, like they deserve this or that, but that's just kind of a reality of life, because sometimes even good people, right? I think that there's like a lot of people have like the issue of, well, why do bad things happen to good people? But I think you have to kind of reframe it and think, well, maybe it's not necessarily like a bad thing happening to a good person. Maybe it's just more so that this person, they're going through things that are developing them as a person. And sure, they may be good, right? But that doesn't mean that they should be immune to any trials or tribulations, because as long as you're on earth, you're going to have some sort of problem. Like whether you're a good person or a bad person, you're going to have some sort of problems. You're going to go through some sort of challenges, and it's just a matter of what you make of it and how you come out of it. Also kind of relates to my faith too as well. You know, being a Muslim, we're often told that like Allah tests those that he loves the most. And all of the prophets, from Adam up until Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, has been tested with different types of tests. And so I think manga does a nice way of portraying that, like how it's everyone goes through trials and tribulations. From it can be something so little to something really huge. Manga has also brought in a lot of peace and relaxation for me. In a weird way, manga has healed my inner child so much, learning new things. And not only that, it's especially with stories like Yotsuba and where it's just kind of really fluffy and just kind of fun, it just heals a part of me that I'm like, dang, like that funness, that like airiness of just being able to discover and not necessarily be judged, not necessarily be looked down upon or belittled, whether it's by, you know, classmates or teachers or just any other person, and just be able to freely express yourself and be appreciated and loved as you are. But seeing that through manga, I feel like healed that part of me. Especially I think it particularly healed that part of me that felt like I'm just weird, like I'm not like everybody else, and not like, oh, I'm so different, but like legit I feel like I'm just different from everybody else, and I find myself having a hard time feeling a sense of belonging. It teaches you that you can create that sense of belongingness within yourself and the people who you connect with the most. Manga has also helped me create a room for slowing down. I'm very ambitious, and I will do things even if it takes me so long. I'll put myself through things that are quite painful just so that I can, you know, like get things done and whatnot. But when reading manga, it reminds me to like slow down. It gives me the sense of just like relaxation. Like I feel like peace, I feel like ease, I feel like my mind is calm, my mind isn't going to this thought and that thought, and like it isn't going all over the place. It's just everything is still. Final things I'd like to express is that, you know, if you are going through something or you feel like you're going through a particular challenge, just know that you're not alone. Like I think a lot of times we think that we're the only ones suffering through a certain trial or challenge because, well, nobody else really talks about it, or we kind of see other people just going about as if they're like fine and like they're not experiencing anything. But trust and believe that everyone is experiencing something. Like even the person you think is the most happiest, the most like upbeat is going through something. Another thing I want to say is just to keep going at whatever goals or aspirations or dreams that you have, and to always make sure that you take breaks and whatnot. Breaks are so important. I cannot emphasize that enough, because I mean, running yourself to the ground, it's not the move. It is not the move, I'm telling you. And so if you can, whenever you can find time to take breaks when needed. That is it for this video. If there are any other manga series that have helped you with your mental health, please let me know. Or if there's any other lessons that you have learned in general from reading manga, please let me know as well. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.